fire. That's what we're talking about coming after Monday Night Raw. It was a wild one in the Thunderdome at Tropicana Field. It may be your Major League Baseball field, but it doesn't feel like it. It feels like a wrestling arena. People getting slammed through chairs. Did it hype you for WWE TLC? We're talking about this week's Monday Night Raw. Share the link. Maybe you've watched Raw, maybe you haven't, maybe it's your Tuesday morning. I don't care. We're talking about wrestling. We'll be live and interactive for those of you in the stream. Also, for those of you in the podcast feed, tons of content for you besides this show. We'll have many more episodes of Wrap Up this week. Plus, we're building up to a special Hulk Hogan holiday watch-along. What movie will it be? Santa with Muscles? Or a no-hold-barred holiday? We'll talk about it. I'm not here alone. Joining me, as always, faithfully from central Pennsylvania, from the land of three rivers, Mr. John Clark. John, how are you? Waving hello to everyone. I have some festive lights with me now in the Thunder Zone that I have in my room. Trying to be somewhat festive during a very awkward Christmas holiday season this year. What do you think, John?
So I don't got Christmas lights here, but I did get a special gift today.
What's that? What'd you get?
My friends at Ticketmaster have sent me my balance on a gift certificate. So whenever those Royal Rumble and WrestleMania tickets go on sale,
you didn't like everything you spend on tickets. They just you just keep the credit and you can just spend it on something else.
Every event that's been canceled from the pandemic has been refunded and all placed onto this card right here.
Oh, that's kind of neat. That's actually kind of convenient. I didn't know they were doing that.
Doesn't expire until 2022, and it has all of the balance on it, so you can just use it until it runs out.
That's pretty sweet. I think before the end of tonight's show, we're going to find out what you're using that on. But we'll get into tonight's Monday Night Raw. This was a wild one just a few minutes ago. They just got cut off. 10 o'clock, they got cut off. I didn't mind it. It wasn't that bad of a cutoff here because we got to see everything you might want to see before WWE TLC. We also saw a bunch of stuff that maybe you didn't want to see. Give us your 1 to 10 on this week's Monday Night Raw. Let us know what you think of it. Did it sell you on WWE TLC? Are you more into this week's pay-per-view on the network than you would be the prior week? I thought this was an improvement on last week's lackluster Monday Night Raw. This one, it dragged in some parts, but by the end of it, I was okay with it. They bookended it with a really, really strong between AJ Styles and Sheamus. Sheamus being taken advantage of with an injury in the match. Sunset powerbomb off the top rope. AJ wins. Almost his big goon on the outside. Didn't interfere too much, but helped him win the match. Later on in the night, the Ascension ceremony for the tables, ladders, and chairs title match between AJ and, the current champion, Drew McIntyre, who you didn't almost see until the end of the night, which I thought was weird. And then this breaks into a big brawl. Miz and Morrison get involved. Miz still has that briefcase. He's looming in the background. They've kept him active in this whole thing and almost got involved. And they really whooped the crap out of Drew McIntyre in this closing segment. What'd you think of it here? The whole angle to build to Styles versus McIntyre on Sunday.
I thought it was a very interesting way to build it. And I think that a reason that they took this path was obviously Drew will look very strong at TLC if he comes out victorious. And I think that they're trying to make him look as strong as he possibly can because whoever is, in the deck to dethrone him, they want them to look also very strong. And of course, AJ Styles also looking very good. They did point out here that this is the first time they're ever competing. And for all of you Impact TNA fans, is that true? Have they never actually wrestled before?
I thought the same thing because I know they had some time. I don't think they were ever in Impact long enough really to have any interaction physically. Okay. I know they've definitely been in tag matches, but I don't think they've ever had a singles one-on-one.
Yeah, I think you're right. Just doing a quick Google search, nothing comes up for TNA or Impact Wrestling. So maybe this is really the first time they are doling it out. But I thought it was an interesting way to build up the show, get everybody involved, try to keep it fresh until this Sunday.
Mhm.
And a lot of people with everything going on don't realize that the show is indeed this Sunday. It kind of crept around here after Survivor Series.
Holidays too.
And,
Holidays do that to people. This is a show that does kind of sneak up on people every year.
and if people really want to think about something crazy, we are just literally a little over a month from the Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
We're already there.
I thought they did a lot of work here for Styles and McIntyre with balancing everything with Miz and Morrison. There was a lot done here, and it makes you feel like Styles is dangerous. Could Styles take the belt off of him? I don't think so. I think they really want to do some more things with McIntyre before WrestleMania, at least with that title.
I agree, and this Sunday is what I think a lot of people are considering to be the season finale type deal, where when the following night comes around, that's where we really start that build to WrestleMania in the next 3 months. So.
A lot of people enjoying Monday Night Raw. You know, I think if this show was only 2 hours, I don't know if people would have enjoyed this nearly as much. This is one of those Raws where I thought you got a little space between the good stuff and the bad stuff, and you ended with something good. You started with a weird segment with Miz and Morrison kind of reading "Twas the Nightmare Before Christmas." That was actually our headline for our preview article today. We actually wrote "The Nightmare Before TLC," and then they mentioned that at the beginning. I was like, "Oh, they stole our stuff." No, parallel thinking, guys. Don't worry about it. Somebody messaged me about that. But I thought that was clever. It didn't go too long. It set up Sheamus and Styles. I thought Sheamus had a great match, sold his ass off for that leg hurting him, and did some creative things in there. Styles looked dangerous. He looks like he can have banger matches. And you put Styles in the ring and you had him beat Sheamus and you had him beat down McIntyre. He looks strong, but I just don't, like I mentioned earlier, I don't think it's, do you believe that Styles can push McIntyre to the distance? Because we also have Miz hanging out there. He got involved in the Frockets at the end of the show and swarmed the ring. What do you think here? Do we have a cash in on Sunday?
We very well could. I think if we're looking at the three possibilities in the order of most likely to least likely, I have McIntyre winning clean. Let's just sort over real quick. We have three people that could leave the night as champions. One, I think, is McIntyre. Two would be The Miz, and three would be AJ Styles. I just don't see him putting it on AJ Styles and having McIntyre win it back and lose it again that quickly, clean. Now, of course, Miz and Morrison could help Styles win, cash in on him, or AJ Styles has his buddy that could help him. There's a lot of wild cards. It's going to be one of those, I think, screwy matches with a lot of interference. Not going to be clean. And I also do not think it's going to be the main event. I think Roman and Kevin will probably close the show. So who knows? This might open the show for all we know. They raised the title tonight. Maybe they just lead that in this Sunday and the title's still hanging there and they say, here we go.
Did they add TLC to Owens and Reigns? Is that a TLC match?
It is a TLC match, yes.
Okay, so the two matches that need it deserve it. The two men's world title matches. I thought that's the appropriate way to go here. If you're with us for the first time, go ahead and get your comments on screen. Miguel Flores texting in, needs a little work. 3 hours is just a lot. Oh, well, it's still entertaining. So sounding off there on this week's Money at Raw. A couple people giving 7.5. See a couple of 8s in here. That's very, very generous to this week's Money at Raw. We'll give our rating before the end of the show. And let's get into this question, though. As we've already just kind of mentioned, could Miz cash in at Money in the Bank? His Money in the Bank briefcase, he won it off Otis. He's been looming around McIntyre. He was involved in the opening of the show. He had a match with Keith Lee. We'll talk about that later on tonight as well. He's there. It's really the Miz and Morrison having the briefcase. Miz is holding it. I'm interested in this. A tables, ladders, and chairs match. A lot of different dangerous things in there. I do think this is a scenario where he could come out and swoop in and win this thing. And even if McIntyre is victorious, Miz could come in and be the vulture in his glitterati clothes and cash in on this. And they've made it seem like you got to pay attention to when he's going to do this. And Styles has goaded him to some point, saying, cash in, you can just make this thing you and me. There's a lot of different ways they could do this. The craziest thing they could do is, and I don't see them doing it, and it's against Miz's character, is Miz at some point before the match cashing in and joining the match. Don't see that happening. He's going to take full opportunity of this and try and do what he did 10 years ago, take advantage of a downed opponent. And I do think if there was a chance of him cashing in, this is the most likely scenario for him to do it since he's won it. with all the different tables and ladders and chairs and stuff like that they added to it. And also, Styles is a barn burner in these matches. He's great in ladder match. He's great in stunt-oriented matches. And that's a challenge for McIntyre. He hasn't been in a match like this. He had a great time. I think he pulled something out with Randy Orton. I think that Hell in a Cell match is better than people give it. But part of it is there were so many other cell matches. There's 3 other cell matches on that show. And that of the 3 ones, that wasn't the one that people remember. But it was a great match. So I do think he can do some great physical things. I do think Omos will do something very physical in this match. And this tonight did a lot of work to get people excited for Styles and McIntyre. Even with Miz looming around here, I'm doing a soft thumbs up on what's going into this Sunday with these guys. Let's get into the rest of the show. What else is piquing your interest? We don't follow it chronologically. We don't do that where this segment they did this and this segment they did this. No, that's not necessary. What are the big things that fans are talking about after Monday Night Raw? We're jumping into them right now. We got to talk about this. Randy Orton and The Fiend. This got nuts. And someone almost got burned alive. A lot of backstage pre-tape shenanigans. We had Bray in the ring with a field trip. His characters came out of the funhouse. I thought, all right, do something, as we mentioned last week, do something you can't do with fans there. They did it this week. They had the puppets outside around the ring. And Randy Orton said, why don't we play hide and seek? All right, this is grown men playing hide and seek. We know it's going to play into something. Whole third hour is just a tease to them meeting up. And Randy Orton attacks him when he lures him in with a rocking chair. I thought this was a great little thing. If you're a fan of the Fiend character, there's a lot of mythos around him. One of the things is a rocking chair that gives him powers. He has all these little normal things that give him powers. It's kind of clever in a way that he has these like very normal things. A lantern gives him power. This mask gives him powers. All right, so he lures him in, attacks him, gets him in this box, and lights it on fire like he's the Undertaker back in 2005. And the Fiend emerges. Bray was put in there, but the Fiend emerges. Obviously, this is a pre-tape, but it worked. It just worked for the character. It was very, very cool. I saw people really love this. This is one of the most over things on tonight's Monday Night Raw.
Yeah, and I think the way that they just have been developing this whole story, especially tonight specifically, has been very, very well done. Making Bray Wyatt. I mean, if I'm gonna have one small complaint, we haven't seen Alexa Bliss now for 2 weeks in a row. It's a little odd. Maybe she resurfaces on Sunday. Now, to be clear,
and then whenever you have someone who isn't on TV with even AEW, everyone jumps into they have COVID situation or they have this. That isn't exactly true. No one's confirmed that from WWE, so don't run with that, guys.
Yeah, I'm just interested to see how they handle that because I don't know. I mean, I could see either guy winning, but with the Fiend just being the Fiend, I think the only time the Fiend has actually lost was to Goldberg, right?
I think he's lost another match, hasn't he? They had the no contest with him and Seth Rollins, but it wasn't exactly a loss.
Okay, right? So yeah, the point I'm getting at is I don't see him losing clean because this is just a one-on-one normal match, right? There's no stipulation here, I don't think. So that's something that you want to keep an eye on because with Bliss getting involved, you can easily make it kind of a screwy finish. Orton can afford to lose, and I also think the Fiend can afford to lose. I just don't think they want him to lose because honestly, I think whoever wins this match, we're gonna have a very clear picture on who's going for the title during WrestleMania season, which I think will be Wyatt.
I do too. I do think, and also everyone says, "Oh, you can't do that to Randy." You can. Randy can take these losses. Randy's a first ballot Hall of Famer. He's the inverse of John Cena. He can take all of these things and be just fine. And you give him a couple of these type of scenarios where he's trying to burn someone alive and attack someone else's wife. He can do all those things. He's done them before, and he does them probably better than most people. I think he's okay. What do you think here? I think it's weird how they've done all these different backstage things to get here to this point, right? But then we don't have a gimmick on this match. A lot of gimmicks on this pay-per-view. They used fire tonight to get you pumped for this. I tweeted this out at WrestleZone.com. I don't think it's going to happen. Immediately I was like, why isn't this an Inferno match? If you're going to do something on a pay-per-view near the end of the year, you need a hook. You need something different, right? I immediately thought like, all right, the Fiend, you can do that stuff with him. You can do something like that with him. But immediately I was like, why aren't they? You know what I mean? Like, I know they're not going to. Mind you, it's the WWE Network. You could do it. The night of, they can throw that on there. I don't see it happening.
They can do anything they want, but I think, look, The past couple weeks, I have gotten the impression that they are tailoring their product more towards the younger generation. And now, granted, they've been doing this
Mm.
for a while, but I just think with, the way that other companies, other promotions have been making their content, I think WWE knows they still completely dominate the children's demographic. And
More
it's
than
hard.
people would like to admit, and I think most of that is done through social media and through YouTube and different things like
And with the toys and the cartoon
yeah.
stuff like that, and just the publicity they get, and look,
When I talk to my nephew about wrestling, he says, "I just watch it on YouTube on TV."
it's just how it goes. I mean, and I'm not knocking AEW for it, but they're going for that 18 to 40, and that's what
Mhm.
you want. But the parents spend the money for the kids to watch. If you go to WWE shows nowadays, when there are crowds there, it's mostly kids.
Who do you wanna see? The guy that tried to burn another man
And
alive.
and when I did go to one AEW show, because I did go to one, believe it or
Mhm.
not, there was, like, no kids there. It was all people my age and older.
And that's just a different thing. Yeah, so in The Fiend is a character that is over with kids. He's the most over with casual fans.
Firefly Funhouse, it
Yeah,
is.
and it is, and then at the same time, he's also a character that I see, people are really into him in terms of what he does, almost like they do with superheroes, where they have a mythos, they have all these different things around them that are connected to their character. So I'm interested. So they did a lot to make me into this. I mean, and I didn't find the in-ring segment super great. I did think that kind of dragged. That was one of the things about Monday Night Raw that dragged a bit. Let's get into the thumb down stuff tonight. They reintroduced Elias, who got electrocuted a few weeks ago in his Symphony of Destruction match, trying to slam a guitar into a speaker. He was reintroduced with Jackson Riker as his basically roadie, bodyguard. And he was interrupted tonight by R-Truth and a handful of other people trying to get the 24/7 championship off Truth, chasing him down there. All that stuff. And Jackson Riker grabs Grand Metalik and gives him the sit-down powerbomb. I saw a lot of people on Twitter very angry. Jackson Riker, who put out some very pro-Trump political things earlier this year, aggravated a lot of different people. Neither here nor there. We just haven't seen the guy in months. And I saw a lot of people say, like, why is he getting this spot when you have all these other people on the shelf? You could have went with somebody else. So people are just already angry. The guy is already on television. But what do you think of the reintroduction of Elias 2 weeks off, and obviously the big reintroduction of Jackson Riker in this segment? It was a thumbs down for me. I didn't feel it. I thought Elias has been a lot more entertaining in other pieces. A lot of other people running in and be involved in this thing. It was one of those things of just too many cooks in the kitchen. Didn't connect with me.
Yeah, and I think the whole purpose of this was kinda to get the point across that, Elias can't just be messed with, and you can't just interfere with Elias whenever you want anymore. Maybe that's what they're going for here. I didn't hate it, but I didn't like it either. I
Mhm.
was neutral to me. I'm glad they found something with Jackson Riker. The dirt sheets wrong again, saying that he was gonna be fired, then he wasn't fired.
Mhm.
They gave him something to do. They
He was
separated him,
certainly put on the bench for a while. Like, you know what I mean?
and
I
they
mean, and
separated him
and
from the other
also,
2.
what the Forgotten Sons, they were done after that tweet
Well,
fiasco.
yeah,
So,
and they
yeah.
still kind of are because
Yeah,
they've been split
he
up.
they don't think that those guys didn't pay professional punishment for that. Okay. By the way, they suffer greatly. Like, you make a lot less money when you're not on TV, everybody. All right, Craig
And
Maxwell texting in here about the situation with the women. We have Lana versus Nia Jax. This is one of the pre-advertised matches for tonight's Monday Night Raw, and Lana won. Lana got her pre-match prep and gorilla position from Asuka. Asuka and Lana are going to take on Shayna and Nia Jax, the bullies, the women's tag team champions, for the titles this Sunday at the pay-per-view. And Lana gets out in the ring. She's getting whomped. She's selling like crazy. Nia Jax is going up to the top rope. She's going to give her the big old Yokozuna Banzai drop, only to be thrown off the top rope, almost like Sheamus was earlier in the night. And Lana gets a surprise victory. She is just cheering. She's selling it like she won a gold medal, like she's Nadia Comaneci. I saw someone tweet, like the tweet was like, when your mom brings home pizza and you didn't know, things like that. I thought that was really great. But the pizza party didn't last too long because Shayna and Nia Jax assaulted her limbs. They like nearly broke her arm and her leg, and Asuka took way too long to get out to the ring. Like, way, because they cut to Asuka watching this match backstage because Lana said, I can do this on my own, right? I can do this on my own. So I guess there is some logic in the sense of Lana saying, don't come out here, I can do this on my own. But the match was done and you're getting beat up by people. Why didn't Lana come out? Why didn't Asuka come out and help poor Lana? Not a great wrestler, getting whomped. You're the Raw Women's Champion. You wait until your tag team partner gets her leg and her arm broken practically.
Well, I mean, she was getting attacked by Shayna backstage at the same time, so I mean, it wasn't completely that it didn't make sense.
Mm-hmm.
I get where you're coming from, though. To address the question here from Craig, my initial thought was Charlotte Flair, if we're being honest, because I was just like, well, maybe they want a surprise, but then I'm like, nah, we're gonna get somebody like Mandy or Peyton or Dana Brooke. That's just what's gonna happen.
And they did tease that later on in the night. Shayna was in action, and Asuka got down to the ring. Dana Brooke, Shayna versus Asuka. Shayna Baszler versus Dana Brooke was going on. Okay, so the match wasn't really that important because it was really just about the breakdown of it. Mandy Rose reintroduced herself, coming down in big platform boots, but still doing a big running knee drive there, hitting them both with a kendo stick. Then Asuka was in the ring. So is Dana Brooke or Mandy Rose going to replace Lana in this match? And it's weird because Dana and Mandy were their own tag team, and now it's just who's going to be slotted with Asuka. Who would you choose there? Who would you go with there?
If I'm picking between who?
Yeah, I would go with Mandy. I think it's a little bit more entertaining.
Maybe Peyton. I don't know. Not Dana Brooke, though. Not Dana Brooke.
Not Dana Brooke. I think Dana's earned it. I think Dana's improved a whole lot in the ring. I could see her doing something.
It's probably going to be Mandy, and if they do try to pull a surprise, it could be anybody. It's hard to tell.
All right. So here we go. Eddie C. What's up, guys? Y'all just dragged me off Twitter. Lol, where's the snacks? The snacks are eating them hot cakes. All those hot takes. If you're with us for the first time, go ahead and get your comments on screen. This is a completely interactive show. That's what I want to see. More comments, more people on screen. Help us defeat our biggest enemy. There are well over a few dozen of you watching the show live right now. I have no problem saying what our live viewership is, but I want to see more people watch the show. And the best way to do that is for everyone watching the show right now. When I hit 3, 1, 2, 3, boom, hit that like button. All right. And 1, 2, 3, boom, hit it again, because this helps us defeat our greatest enemy, the algorithms. Andre the Giant algorithm is not a big thing. It's not an easy thing to pick up and slam down. Okay. But we need to do it every single day. So really, really help us do that. And also in the comments below, let us know what you think. We're going to do a watch along holiday movies. There's a big debate on this now, John, about what holiday movie we should do a watch along of. We'll put a movie on. You guys can watch it.
I thought we decided already.
It's Santa with Muscles. But then I've also heard some people come in and say No Holds Barred came out around Christmas. Like they did like a Christmas special with the movie. So why not?
I'm thinking the other one is going to be a little bit more entertaining.
I've never seen Santa with Muscles. So I think we're going to have Santa with Muscles. So is it Santa with Muscles or No Holds Barred? Brother, it's gonna be a Hulk Hogan holiday, brother. All right, so get into the Triple H conversation. Let us know what you think. If you don't have anything to say about the show and you're just checking in, or if you can't watch the whole show, go ahead and get the podcast available on Apple, Spotify, all your different podcast apps. Thank you so much for that. Steve Chambers, he didn't like Retribution and Ricochet tonight. He goes, yawn.
Absolutely.
We had Mace versus Ricochet. Ricochet has been teased and taunted and harassed by the Retribution faction. Mustafa Ali saying, you were once my great friend, but you should join my evil faction. Retribution. So many people think this thing's dead as a doornail, and then they're dead, they get beaten down, and then they win a match. And Mace won tonight. Distraction finish. Mace wins with a big kind of like, it looks like a sidewinder spine buster, sort of. It wasn't the worst looking move. Mace is one of the reported big men that was sent back to the Performance Center because, all the reports that the big men, and how could you do that? You could send them back. But he didn't look bad tonight. Not a particularly great match. Not one of the best matches of the night. Retribution, I don't know what's going on with this group. I don't think they're going to be on the pay-per-view. So I don't know what to think here.
The only acceptable ending to this feud is Ricochet actually joining Retribution. That's the only acceptable ending I will take at this time.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, it just doesn't make sense, and it's outright getting to the point of being stupid.
Yeah, here we go. We have a question just about the Thunderdome in general. John Kirby, north of the border in Canada. Oh, Canada, our home and native land. True I sang it like Nikolai Volkov. That was weird. So John Kirby goes, John and Kevin, do you feel the same way I do about the new venue for WWE? Doesn't feel like they're in a stadium. You know what?
It's not
They're in
supposed to.
they're in Tropicana Field, right? They're in a big, giant baseball stadium, and we've seen the wide production shots of it from John Alba, who's doing some great reporting down there in Florida. Thank you so much, John, for putting those out there. And the thing about these photos from St. Petersburg, Florida, is they're not using the whole space. But here's the thing: I don't think they need to, because they're not going to have fans there. You know what I mean? So if it was a mixture of fans and Thunderdome screens, I'd understand that. And it doesn't look like we're going to get any of that. And as far as we know, their lease on the building doesn't allow them to do that. And I don't know if WWE feels comfortable about doing that right now at this time. So it's very curtained off. They're not using the whole space. You're not seeing like the scoreboards. You're not seeing the dugouts or anything like that. It almost looks like you're just back at
Amway.
At the Amway Center.
Yeah, I think that's what they want.
And you could, but then that makes me think, well, why aren't you just doing this on a soundstage? Why aren't you going to MGM? Why not go to MGM Studios at Disney and do that there? You know, you're telling me no. You're like, no, I want it.
Because this at least leaves the possibility there that they might be able to do something if they want.
Great point. You know what? You're actually a great point. Maybe when they actually can have fans back, they drop the curtain.
Who knows? I mean,
look at all these fans here.
We have baseball, coming back, obviously. But if they want the Royal Rumble to be something big and there's no fans, they could use the stadium to make it, big and grand and whatever.
We have Devandir Singh is saying good afternoon to all. Good afternoon. We got people watching the other side of the world. Thank you to everyone checking out the show in Singapore, in Cyprus. We have fans checking out the show in India. They're getting their own NXT brand reportedly in the next few months here. So a lot to cover up here. A lot more comments in different takes here.
We got James watching. James is watching tonight.
James Espanto always with us. James Espanto is always supporting the show. James Espanto. Fernando. What? James Espanto says, pick her up, John, with the IWC. I never want to say this seriously. Would the internet wrestling community change their mind about Charlotte if she wasn't in the WWE? I can't imagine anyone losing their mind. I got to scroll down here because it cuts off your comment on the screen. Losing their minds if she was on AEW television. Such a random question. We're in the middle of Raw. We're in the middle of Raw talk here, but I don't mind taking this. Go ahead, John. What do you think?
Oh, well, yeah, I think he's saying if she showed up in AEW, would everybody lose their minds? Because even though she's so popular now, she does now and then get that, well, she's been here forever. She's boring. She needs to go away.
Yep.
Yeah, obviously, she's Ric Flair's daughter. If she showed up in AEW, it would be a fairly big deal, and she would instantly be their number one female instantly.
Instantly.
She would just show up with a title around her waist already.
Yes. She like if she showed up and wasn't in the title scene immediately, it would be a waste.
This is like extreme fantasy though.
Absolutely. and guess what? That's not happening. That is if it ever happened, it's definitely not happening anytime soon.
You just upset some marks.
Mark, some guys named Mark. Multiple people named Mark are going to be upset about it. So yes, back tonight, Monday Night Raw. We have a Raw tag team title match secured for TLC on Sunday. It will be the New Day versus Hurt Business. These guys have been interacting quite a bit the past month and a half. I wouldn't say it's lighting the world on fire, but certainly the Hurt Business is kind of cementing themselves as a heel faction in a way that Retribution is not. And you've had Cedric Alexander get singles wins off multiple members of New Day, including Kofi and Xavier Woods. And then you see them out here in a 6-man tag match. Bobby Lashley beat up Jeff Hardy last week. And you have Matt Riddle in his corner now. Riddle with his bro nuts. They're really getting no donut thing over. And they had a 6-man tag match. Fine 6-man tag match. Nothing big to shout home about. Some fun stuff here overall. What do you think of the tag team scenario going into Sunday? I'm not super amped up on this. I was a little bit more into this a few weeks ago.
Is this an official 2-on-2 regular match for the titles? Is that what we have going on this Sunday?
I believe it is, yes.
I think we need to see a switching of the guard. I think we need to see new champions.
Yes, Hurt Business needs these belts. let's just be frank. Hurt Business needs these belts more than the New Day need to have them for the umpteenth time. And then I always think there's always something fun about New Day in the chase. I do think you could do something with New Day where they don't have to, they can fight a tag team and it doesn't have to be for the belts. You know what I mean? I think them fighting another team, I think them versus Miz and Morrison, they've done some variation of that before, would be entertaining. Maybe Xavier as a solo guy and Kofi in his corner, or vice versa. Something there. You can still keep them together as a team and do something. I don't know. I just think them with the tag belts for a while feels played out. So that's just the way I see it. We've covered all the big notes on Monday Night Raw. Is there anything I'm forgetting that we really got to ramp up here on? I think we covered all the good stuff.
Yeah, we got most of the important, relevant stuff for the night. Just to recap that, it appears that we are going in the direction of seeing Jeff Hardy and Bobby Lashley for the IC title. I'm okay with it. Or no, the United States title. My bad, not IC title.
It's all right. Hey, at this point, sometimes it feels like you flip flop them.
Okay,
You know,
it's somewhat upsetting to me a little bit, and the reason I said it is because I really thought that once WrestleMania season had passed the show, we were really going to get one final really good run from Jeff Hardy, and to see him likely stuck in the mid card, even if he wins the title, it's just a little upsetting. And I would like to see this Sunday. My really go home point that I want to see, I would really like to see Sheamus finally turn on McIntyre to start their program, and I hope that's what we get to end the show.
Yeah,
if this is the main event.
Yeah, if this is the main event, I mean, and you could throw in a Miz cash in there too. You know, if they really wanted to get crazy about it, there's something's gonna happen. They're gonna do something on this TLC pay per view. It's gonna be memorable in terms of an angle, maybe even more than a match. I want to say. So if you're a diehard and you follow WWE, I do think this is another thing. This has been the pattern for 2020, where I do think we're going to come out of Sunday saying, wow, we had a great pay-per-view. And the build wasn't as great as the pay-per-view turned out to be. Hell in a Cell was one of the best shows of the year. And the show was better than the build. You know, SummerSlam was one of the better shows of the year. And the show was better than the build. Clash of Champions was great. Better than the build. And I think fans don't want to say that because sometimes they get upset by the drag out sometimes of a 3-hour show. I don't mind a 3-hour Raw on a go home show. There's enough to get hammered in there, you know? And so in this regard, I didn't mind this. Overall, pretty solid Monday Night Raw, an improvement from the week before. I'm giving this 7.5, dog. Giving it 7.5. I know some people aren't going to agree with me. There's a bunch of things that were off on me tonight, but the good was great. The fire segment with Fiend and Orton, it paid off. You had something that paid off. The show closing brawl with the tables, ladders, and chairs, it was effective. The way the show started was good. The good outweighed the bad. 7.5 for me. What do you think, John?
We're going to go with a 7 tonight.
Oh, we didn't get the 7.5 out of you.
Just a 7 for tonight. It was all right. It was, on par with what they've been doing recently, maybe a little better. I'm content with it.
You're content. All right. Okay. I'll take that. That's not too bad. I also want to remind you guys over at WrestleZone.com. Right now, we have our 2020 gift guide. Things you should buy for the wrestling fan you know. Go there and click on the very crazy face of one Dexter Loomis. Great books that maybe you haven't bought or maybe you should get for the wrestling fan you know, or maybe just for yourself or you want to enjoy a deal. Different t-shirts you can jump into as well. So go click on that. That's up on the main page at WrestleZone as well. We also just dropped a special interview with Dan Garcia of Limitless Wrestling about their Vacation Land upcoming tournament, the Vacation Land Cup, which is going to be pretty exciting. And of course, if you miss a wrestling show, we got it all for you. It's all there. Do you want to know your take on this? I want to pull this up here on screen. Every year, WWE does like a different holiday video, right, John?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And sometimes they'll sing a song, or maybe they'll do like an animated thing. Today, they put out one of the most bizarre holiday-oriented things. Did you get to catch this?
I saw it.
And so it doesn't seem like you liked it. I'm actually gonna surprise some people. I thought it was very, very humorous and ridiculous, and one of those things that can only happen in wrestling. And it didn't bother me nearly as much as it bothered you. And I'm gonna pull you down here just so people can get a view of this. And look at that. that graphic right there is it looks like the old Mucinex animated CGI commercials that have been around on television for the last 20 years. And Drew McIntyre got to fight this pile of mucus that cut a promo on him, and it threatened to send its murder hornets after people. I thought that was a clever little line. And then various people from the superstars from WWE did their moves on it, and they basically CGI covered whoever was taking the move in different highlight reels and footage. And Michael Cole was using his broadcaster voice to talk about 2020 being beat up by people. It was very on the nose. I wouldn't call it clever, but it was just so over the top and ridiculous and fun that I didn't mind it. I'm not saying it was the greatest thing they've ever done, but certainly interesting. And I saw some people saying they were offended by it. They were offended that WWE would make light of 2020.
Oh,
they were
please.
offended. And I was just like, stop it. Those same people are tweeting out the most ridiculous jokes. It's it's wah. I didn't think it was that bad. I also didn't think they said anything offensive in terms of anyone. I mean, obviously it's a bunch of boogers that he was fighting, and they're alluding to the virus and everything bad about it. But I do think we live in a world where you can make jokes about that stuff now, even though it's a very, very dark, very crazy, crazy time.
I'm offended.
Yeah, it was a little bit like that, but they didn't make light of the tragedy of it. You know, they made light of like it impending our lives and trying to give people some levity in this thing. So I didn't mind that. That is what is going on. Of course, we had the big story with the big men of WWE being moved to the Performance Center to refine them. Keith Lee was in action. We didn't get to talk about him. I just want to kind of reserve this for this segment before we're done here. We thought tonight's Monday Night Raw was good. A highlight that I did enjoy, he may not have been victorious, but man, he showed off some athletic prowess in the ring. Big Keith Lee, handicap match against Miz and Morrison. Some people think this is going nowhere. I do think that if Miz doesn't cash in, a big reason will be because of the shenanigans they pulled on Big Keith Lee. He did not like this. Keith Lee, one of several big men that reportedly, from multiple sources, given extra practices at the WWE Performance Center, which are being led reportedly by Adam Pearce and Drew Gulak. Drew Gulak is a wrestling talent, but is now being used to coach people as well. And Keith Lee was on the list, and people lost their minds. How could you do that to Keith Lee? Former NXT champion, former NXT North American champion, this super indie superstar that came in here with all this different fanfare up to Monday Night Raw. You're burying him, and he lost tonight. You're burying him, but he was featured on television in 2 different segments and nearly beat Miz and Morrison, and it took 2 people to beat him. I don't think you're buried then, you know? So that's my take.
I agree. What
do you this whole story, because I do think people kind of blew this thing out of proportion this weekend.
You know, it's part of life. You know, that's you got to get better all the time, and you know, lately, especially with Keith Lee, he's been doing a little bit of dangerous high flying stunts. We saw a couple risky moves there, and I just think there's some other players that you know they just need to improve. It's not a bad thing. People obviously see it as a bad thing, but even WWE wrestlers need to improve at their job too, you know?
Yeah, I don't think it's a huge deal. I don't think it's a huge deal. And I also think that something has to be factored in here. When you talk about the group of guys that he's in there with, Keith Lee, Otis, Dabba-Kato, Omos. Now, Keith Lee was obviously the most experienced professional wrestler in that group. I think those other guys benefit from being in that group with Keith Lee. I think it's something where you want him in there with a guy who is more experienced, more balanced, and can move with his size dynamically like Keith Lee can. He doesn't wrestle like a normal 300-pound guy does. He doesn't move slowly, and maybe he doesn't want to, or maybe WWE wants him to do that. I don't know everything, and there's a lot of people talking like they knew exactly what was going on here, and they don't. There's so much about the story we still don't know. There's so much we don't know about it.
Sure. Yeah.
And also, when Keith Lee wins a world championship, I don't think anyone's going to be talking about this story. You know what I mean?
You're right.
A couple days ago, like this happened on Friday. Thursday, we were talking about this guy being in a title match with Drew McIntyre and Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania. So it's just like everyone just I get it. I'm the dude from WrestleZone, as far as you know, and I'm complaining about how the internet reacts to things. But here's the thing, guys: you overreact because you're conditioned to just go off on WWE because they didn't listen to us, the fans. Well, here's the thing. They're not listening to anyone the same way they used to. They have social media to go off of. You tell them to do this. There isn't something right about Keith Lee. All right, let's try and figure out something with Keith Lee that gets him where we need him to be. Get him back on track, right? And so then, and this isn't me being an apologist either. I think this helps out the other guys more than it helps out Keith Lee. You know, another thing is there's no house shows. There's no house shows. These guys aren't out there doing reps. They're not working the loop with NXT. They're not even doing those. This isn't like there's a part of the country where they can go and do live events just to those fans and that's it. No, there's nothing. They have the TV. That's it. So I think if they said everyone go and do more practices, we want more people getting more rhythm, getting more dynamic in there. I wouldn't mind that. I'm a comedian. I can't even go and do an open mic. I would love to go do an open mic. I would love to go on my ass off and tell really bad jokes until I got those jokes right. But I can't even do that. I got to do it on Zoom. I can't even get enough of you guys to give me 50 likes. 50 likes is what I'm looking for.
It is what it is, you know.
Yeah,
life goes on, I guess.
I think people blew up about it. So TLC, are you sold on the show overall? I mean, there's some other good things that they're doing on Smack. I think the SmackDown side of WWE right now is a lot more compelling with Reigns and Owens. I think they have the most compelling, interesting match going into this Sunday, even though a lot of it looks like Reigns is going to win, but he's just simply the most over character going into this game.
It's so funny to look at the card and like you just said that SmackDown only has 2 matches on the card for TLC right now. That's it. And Raw has the other 4. So the booking on SmackDown has just been better to the fact that even though they have 2 matches, we're like, well, SmackDown's going to be better. Both of their matches, even Sasha Banks Carmella, which I believe is still on, even though they had it last week on SmackDown as well. You know,
they do. It is still set for the pay-per-view.
So let's. I think the most interesting part for the Raw side is who's going to be Asuka's partner. Probably a letdown, but you can't help but to be excited to see who comes out.
I think it's more compelling is what is the Miz going to do with this tables, ladders, and chairs.
Sheamus. What's Sheamus going to do? He's been teasing returning.
So there's a lot of other people involved in that match that aren't even in the ring, so kind of interesting there. And are they going to throw some mind games on Omos as well? Are they going to throw a mind games gimmick on the Fiend and Orton? So I think this is a sleeper show. I don't think this is going to be the best show, but I do think this is going to be better than people give it. Is that fair to say?
Yeah.
That's where things stand. All right, we will be back with you tomorrow afternoon. Make sure your notifications are on to know exactly when we go live for the WrestleZone wrap-up. Also, I'm doing news flashes. We're doing shorter solo videos. We're giving you the latest news and different things like that as it breaks, as soon as it breaks. So make sure you have your notifications on YouTube, on Facebook for that as well. Subscribe to the podcast feed. We got a lot going on there. A bunch of different bonus interviews, all of the wrap-ups. We'll also have that holiday watch along. We'll give you that information. We'll kind of set the date for that. We're going to try and get that in before the 23rd, hopefully. And speaking of the 23rd, I have something quite cool coming up on that. I'll plug that in just a second. What do you got going on,
John? I have, of course, the news on Sundays or Twitter right here, John R. Clark 12. And Mondays and Wednesdays, I will be right here, and I will be right here this Sunday night after TLC, with or without Kevin, because he hasn't said if there's going to be a post show. Hopefully, there will be.
We will have a post show.
And then that's what I got going on. Who knows? I might pop back in on Friday for SmackDown. It just depends. But Wednesday, and I have one more plug that I have to get in. I could have saved it for Wednesday, but I'm going to use it tonight.
What's that?
AEW was under 1 million viewers last week, and I told you it was going to happen. I don't care if it was 900. I don't care if it was 999.9 thousand because it was close to that. But
they got over 1 million at some point during the show.
Listen, they did. Yeah. But listen, James Esponto, Fernando Taguan.
Big fan of the show.
I am 6 for 6 on bold predictions since entering the wrap-up WrestleZone, Thunder Zone a couple months ago. So I will keep the streak alive, and we will match Undertaker's 21-0 before it's all said and done. And that is a guarantee.
Look at him. You are just a smidge away from just pounding your own chest. Did you just do a Randy Orton pose? You're on it now. We got to reel you in, Clark. We got to reel you in. All right. So December 23rd, big day for me. My friends at the best alternative rock radio station in the nation will be live and worldwide for the streaming concert event of the season. That's where we are. We're watching everything at home. The money you could spend at a bar, the money you could spend at a restaurant, it's not what it once was, guys. You can spend that money at home. $17.51 from every ticket for this big streaming concert going to volunteermatch.org and Project Shine, a great community event that will connect people with charitable causes in their city, in their community. And that's what we're going to need in 2021 to get everything back on track. Everyone's going to need to put in their part. So as we get ready for this holiday season, as we get ready to start, kicking ass as a society again in 2021, let's enjoy ourselves a little bit. Let's try and have a safe, fun holiday. That's what we're doing. December 23rd, a virtual Night We Stole Christmas, Glass Animals, Cold War Kids, Wallows, and special guests. I want to emphasize special guests. How special are these guests are? You will hear people talking about this on the internet after it happens. All right. If you follow music, if you love alternative music, this will move the needle for you. And the acts we have are awesome already. Glass Animals, Wallows, Cold War Kids, great songs. Go check it out. And you can get it at 101wkqx.com. That's 101wkqx.com. Also there, I'm going to be writing for the next few weeks all of my alternative classics. All right. Alternative holiday classics. So today I wrote about Elf, which I think is a very underrated movie, even though it's a modern day classic, but it's an underrated movie. And I'll be writing about other weird, fun holiday things just out of the norm on there. And that's 101wkqx.com/Kevin. So thank you guys for supporting that. And I'm going to be on air a whole lot over the holidays too. So stream it wherever you are. If you want to listen to some music while you're rapping and doing anything like that, pass the time. That's what we're here for. All right. We'll be back tomorrow with everything wrestling on WrestleZone, on the podcast feed, on YouTube, blah, 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 blah. Click like and subscribe, blah, 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 blah. Remember, when watching wrestling, John, what are they supposed to do?